Greetings and welcome to the Disciples of Revan. I'm your host, Lord Guys, and my co-host is always Lord Travius. Say hi, Lord Travius.
Greetings.
So? Solo. Finally gonna do the review. You know, I like to hear everybody's complaints for the longest time about a Star Wars movie before I be like, yep, this is what I thought.
How many times did you see it?
I saw it about 5 times in theater.
Oh wow, I only saw it once in theater.
I thought you were a Star Wars fan.
Apparently not. Yeah. I saw it again when you brought the DVD over.
So did you find yourself enjoying Solo?
Yes, I really liked it. I thought it was a well done movie. I don't believe it deserves the bad publicity that was behind it. I think there's many reasons why it didn't do so well, but if you actually just look at the movie itself, it was a very well done movie, and it just showed us a different part of the Star Wars galaxy.
Yeah, I think one of the first things I thought of after watching it was just like, they spent all this time, like Kasdan was actually commissioned in 2012 by Lucas before he sold the company to write it. He worked with JJ so that he could make a solo movie. They were like, oh yeah, help me with this and you can make your own solo movie and this and that. And that's the story they decided to tell. I'm just like, of all the stories of Solo you could tell and the ways you could tell it, that would not be that story.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was lacking in certain things, absolutely. I mean, is it up there with Rogue One? I still think Rogue One was a far better movie, but you're absolutely right. Like Solo, they could have done a lot more with it. They've obviously taken some things out of the expanded universe. Like there's already a backstory written about Solo all over the place, and they did take some things about it. Obviously, Corellia, what was that lady's name? The
Lady Proxima?
Yeah, she's new, but I mean, he had similar influences in his life. I mean, he grew up stealing on Coruscant. He grew up in a street gang, stealing stuff. And anyway, so that's fine. But they did alter a lot. And I mean, my biggest critique about this movie is the origin of the name Solo. I did not like that whatsoever.
The fact that he keeps it, the fact that he names his kid Ben Solo, like all this stuff.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Like the Solo family is enshrined in Corellian history. He even has a cousin, according to EU, Thraken Sal Solo, though. So you can't tell me that was the actual name origin. I mean, this is Disney's take on things, right? So whatever. But I mean,
they probably thought
that's
was
my biggest
funny.
critique.
I don't have people. I'm alone.
Solo. Approved.
Solo was budgeted at $275, which makes it the 6th most expensive film.
Of all time?
Yeah. But it only made $392, which, you know what? If your movie's making close to $4 million, you're doing it wrong if that's not a positive thing. You're spending way too much money. But a lot of that was probably reshoots. They had to reshoot a lot of this film because they decided that they were going to fire Lord and Miller.
Well, this whole film was plagued by controversy. I mean, it went through so many different rewrites. Like you said, Lord Kasdan, what you said was a shadow director. And
they brought Lord Miller on for comedy, but then I guess they improv too much and the writers didn't like it, so they ran to Kathleen Kennedy, who loves throwing directors under the bus. And she did that with Gareth Edwards and had somebody else reshoot all the reshoots
of Rogue One
instead of the actual director of the film. But whatever. We got Ron Howard in.
Yeah, Ron Howard.
That was a safe choice.
It was a very safe choice, and you know what? I think he did a good job with what he had because again, they had to reshoot half the freaking movie, right?
Yeah. So I don't get that though. Like when they're just like, oh, like this was a bomb, and we need to rethink and put a halt to everything. It was a bomb because you had to reshoot half the movie, and that's on you. That's not on the fans not going to see it.
Because of the backlash of the fan base against The Last Jedi, I think a lot of people boycotted this movie, which is unfortunate because, we as a fan base, I feel that we want more of these standalone movies. I mean, look at the things they had in the works, and now everything's big. Hold on a second, right? Just because how poorly this movie did in their eyes. But the thing is, so look at, we're under 6 months from the release of The Last Jedi in this one. You can't do that. You're oversaturating the market, and because people didn't like The Last Jedi very much, I think it's a kind of a response to that.
Oh, I think it totally is. Like, they should not have left the December spot, and actually the president of Disney, I believe, apologized. He's just like, no, I really wanted that spot. I probably should have, in hindsight, left it in December.
Oh, I thought it was Kathleen Kennedy's fault.
There are decisions to be made, and sometimes you don't make the right decision.
Mm-hmm. No, fair.
But
you gotta remember, Kathleen Kennedy was handpicked by Lucas himself to head Lucasfilm.
Well, she
was kept on by Disney. So
she is a well sought after producer. I mean, she does producing correctly mostly. I just don't agree with some of our Star Wars decisions. But you know, like you were saying about the standalone movies, it's like Rogue One for me, I really enjoyed so much that I wish there was a Rogue 2. Go back and bring Jin and Cassian back.
We all escaped! Yeah!
Han! You were gone too long. I knew something must have gone wrong.
This is nothing. You should see them.
Let's just run through the plot here.
Yeah,
I mean, you got the young Han and Kira on Corellia. Emilia Clarke. I really enjoyed her in this. Like when she was like smiling at Han, like it kind of made me smile. So like she's doing her job.
I think she was a good lead role opposite him. Absolutely. I think that her character, because in the lore, he did have a girlfriend that was part of the crime syndicate too. But there was also well, he had several girlfriends, but one of them was actually a part of the rebellion. So I don't know. They did take a lot of the mythos and add it into this movie. But I think she did pretty good for, you know, and the fact that at the end of the movie, she kind of betrayed him, but at the same time didn't. Like she could have she didn't care about the stuff. Oh shit, what's it called again?
Coaxium.
Coaxium. Yeah, she didn't. She could have taken that, but she didn't. Right? She had the whole freaking ship to herself, but she decided to go back to Darth Maul. So I mean, there's obviously some. At the end, she still cared for him quite a bit. So
yeah, but you know, if you knew how great Darth Maul was, you'd go back to him too.
I'm on my way.
Kira, you and I will be working much more closely from now on.
We do get to see Han in the Empire, and there's actually a deleted scene of where he's getting kicked out of flight school, and it's really kind of a pace killer. He's just standing there talking to admirals, and you're seeing like some bad CGI because they didn't bother finishing it. And he's like flying back to the thing, and they're like, "Oh, you went out of formation, and you're going to infantry."
I was wondering about that because I think there was a gap in this story because Han was kicked out of flight school in the lore. So I was wondering, like, we went from him joining on Corellia to some backwater mudhole planet and he was in the infantry. So that I didn't really understand that connection. It took me a while to like, well, where the fuck are we here? But yeah.
There's a quick little deleted scene, but
okay, I haven't
it was
seen any
good that it
deleted
was
scenes
deleted.
yet.
It wasn't great.
Well, yeah. But anyways, like how, and then we go on further with the backstory of that. It was accurate and how he freed Chewbacca from imprisonment, right? And so that was really good. I mean, we never really knew how that was done.
It was done by speaking Wookiee to him, which we never knew he could do.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? That was kind of interesting. But yeah, so that was neat. I think that it was pretty good.
You know, how dumb were those like guards up there just standing like, oh, the ground keeps shaking. Let's just wait. What do you think of Beckett? Isn't he part of the lore?
Not the Beckett himself, but he did have a lot of people throughout his life growing up that they were mentors to him. Some of them, betrayed him. So basically, they're just taking stuff from that lore and putting it into Beckett.
Because I know how excited fans were when Woody Harrelson was cast as his mentor, and they were like saying somebody's name. But then, like, you know, Disney's just like, nah, we're not going to quite give you canon, like, legends to be canon.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. I haven't actually read the Han Solo trilogy, the backstory completely, but there's a lot there already that, like, I know the gist of it, but there's a lot of backstory that they probably took from, but honestly, I think Beckett was a good character, yeah.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed his little monkey friend, played by, actually voiced by Jon Favreau, so... there's another good connection for you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's part of the Disney family.
I thought it was Steve Buscemi.
It sounded like him.
He kind of did.
Plus, have you ever tried to disinvite a Wookiee to anything? Not a good idea.
So we get to meet Lando.
Yeah, so Donald Glover, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think out of all the actors that, you know, were cast in this movie, his portrayal of Lando Calrissian was hands down the best they could have been. I mean, the way he talked, the way he moved, the way he was smooth, the way he gambled, everything was just right there.
You know, you can't be copying everybody's performance when it comes to series. Like when Star Trek did its reboot, like not everybody copied it, but you know who did it? Was Carl Urban, and he did an excellent Bones, like just to a T. So in this movie, everybody did their own kind of thing. But there you got Donald Glover just doing a perfect.
Oh my god! And the way, and just his wardrobe, and the way everything worked out with that.
He has almost as many capes as you.
Yeah, and the other thing that I really liked is that I had heard prior to the release of the movie that they were going to change the name of the card game from what it actually is, but they actually used the actual word, which is sabak or sabak or whichever way you pronounce it, right? Sabak, whatever. Han. It's Han, but that's okay.
They actually, what was nice is they actually kind of corrected you on things for that, like.
So this is sabak.
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 Anything, Han?
It's Han, but that's okay.
They go off and this movie kind of becomes a heist job.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Ocean's 11's.
And you know what? And the fact that they incorporated that whole thing with Kessel and the coaxium they had to get, the unrefined coaxium they had to get from Kessel, that was good. I can't remember the name of the group that.
Pikes?
The Pikes, yeah. That's actual lore as well, which is really good. And the other thing I really like was that the Maw. Like, if you read the Jedi Academy trilogy, the Maw was actually very accurate, and how, you know, there was only a certain way to get into those areas. So that was actually pretty good, because in one of the books, Han actually finds his way out again out of the Maw, but he actually finds an Imperial research station that's been in there since the start of the Empire, right? So that was interesting how they had the Maw and the fact that it was accurate to what lore is. So that was really good.
I always kind of pictured the Kessel Run as like a race, and that's why Han always bragged about it.
Yeah, but the Kessel Run, you have to follow these navigational beacons, and that's why because he altered from the course of following those beacons, and that's why he was able to make the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs. Because
he rounded.
Just did the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. Not if you round down, buddy. Yeah.
You get to deal with Dryden Voss and Emphas Ness.
So I really, for me, like, because a lot of these names were kind of a rip-off of some of the lore stuff. Like, what was it, Crimson Dawn?
Yeah.
To me, it's a rip-off of Black Sun. You know, because
well, that's the thing. Black Sun, like, I don't know if you want to call it Legends or whatever, but Darth Maul, like, used the Black Sun in the past.
Well, maybe they're two rival criminal organizations, or maybe they become one.
I think they list a bunch of them where it's just like the Pikes, the Black Sun, Crimson Dawn. Like, I think there's a lot of them out there, and they've got fragile alliances.
Yeah, I guess. And then what was that? Enfys Nest? That's a new one, but I think that's kind of like a precursor to Rebellion, because we have so many Rebellion origin stories now. But you got to remember, until the actual Rebel Alliance became this galactic force, there were split, like, little sects here and there, right?
Yeah, like, everybody's gonna fight back.
Yeah, fight back. So this one here, obviously, because you remember in Rogue One, there was a Council of the Rebellion, and they're from all different species and races and walks of life.
And that council was people that were in the Council of the Rebellion in Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. You had the deleted scenes.
Oh, with Mon Mothma and Bail Organa and a couple other ones, but they also
Bailing.
But Bailing. But there's also like this Enfys Nest type groups too, and other different religious and neo-political type groups that end up becoming the Rebel Alliance as a whole. So having this like little splinter cell, or whatever you want to call it, a little cell, is interesting, because you see all these little rebellions come up until they form the actual Rebel Alliance.
But we all know that the actual Rebel Alliance was formed by Starkiller.
Yeah.
And with you leading us, we have the power of the Force on our side. Therefore, let this be an official declaration of rebellion.
What do you think of Alden Ehrenreich as Solo?
So I was less than impressed by him as Han Solo. I thought, I mean, he had the cockiness, but he didn't really talk like Han Solo. He wasn't smooth. I mean, I guess it's kind of like the roughness, you know, his boyhood charm type portrayal of Han Solo. But I just felt that, I don't know, he had the confidence for sure, but he acted that suave. Like, he's never been as suave as Calrissian.
What was really tough for it is, like, yeah, he's playing a younger Han Solo, but the actual actor is probably the same age Harrison Ford was when he started playing Han Solo.
Well, that's probably true.
So.
And that's a hard act to follow. Like, it's like recasting for a young Indiana Jones.
And
wait.
Right around the corner. But, like, also, we just saw Han Solo in Force Awakens, so it's a bit too soon.
Yeah, well, not just. We got a few years in between us now, but yeah.
But I know if I do, you won't look at me the same. The way that you're looking at me right now.
Nothing's gonna change the way I'm looking at you right now.
You don't like that. You don't know what I've done.
And we touched on Emilia Clarke a bit,
Yeah.
but Kira, I really enjoyed kind of the conflict of her character. She's like happy to see Han, she misses him, she wants to run away with Han, but she also knows she can't.
Yeah, and when you got commitments to a Sith Lord, you don't fuck that up, right?
Yeah.
So, and like I said earlier, she could have taken Han out and taken the coaxium, but she didn't.
That's like having a good sugar daddy, you know?
Yeah, it is. With a double-bladed lightsaber.
You can just kill everybody you try to make out with. Good luck, Han.
Yeah.
Woody Harrelson, Tobias Beckett.
Yeah, Woody Harrelson, hands down. He's such a good actor, and you know, like he was.
Would you have ever thought that watching Cheers, when he played Woody, he had to have the same name?
Well, you know what? You know what movie that his portrayal of Beckett reminded me of is him in Zombieland. Just kind of a gunslinger, rogue type of guy. Who was his girlfriend's name? What was
Thandie Newton, who played Val.
Yeah, I don't know.
They didn't do anything with her.
They just killed her off.
Well, you don't watch Westworld, but Thandie Newton's kind of like, you know, jumped ahead of everybody with her acting, and she's really good. But
I didn't say she wasn't a good actor.
I don't think they gave her enough to do in this.
Yeah, I didn't say she wasn't a good actor. I just think that I don't know. Her character, they could have done it more, and you know, she was too retro to me, you know. And I find out that's what they're doing right now with this new Star Wars too. They're going back to like the retro look. I mean, you look at Rogue One. I mean, you even got hairstyles that were like the 70s hairstyles from A New Hope. And now this one here, because it happens prior to A New Hope as well, they got that look, and that 70s hairdo is like, okay.
Hey, you need it. You need that 70s hair. Donald Glover, the only thing that I didn't like was him crying over L3. And it's just like, shit, man, like, you could die here, but you're just like, my droid, I love my droid.
So, you know what? It's really funny. And as soon as I saw her, I was like, well, there's two things I want to say about it. Number one, Lando had a droid, because I did read the Lando Calrissian Adventures and all his... that was cool. He was talking about one of his adventures from an old book. It's a Legends book. He was talking about the Star Cave of Tambaka. And I was like, holy shit, they're actually incorporating all this stuff. But at that time, he had another droid called Rafi Va, and which is really funny because the personality of what was this droid's name?
L3.
Yeah, the personality of this droid was very much like that, kind of a sassy type of robot.
L3! Droid! We are sentient! I'm gonna flip your switch! Good luck finding it! L3!
Let go of the mean man's face.
They're trying to push a lot of this stuff down our throats now, Disney, and you know, having
like, I laughed when she said like droid rights or human rights, but like,
I think it's too much in our face now, and
it's also not the humor of Star Wars.
No, it's not. And that was the other thing I was going to say. It's not Star Wars-esque. You don't like. Yes, we're dealing with political factions and you know, oppression and stuff like that, but now we're dealing with people that become offended by certain things, and it's just, I don't know, this offensive movement these days is just ridiculous. And that
I just find some of these like things that they're throwing in things are taking you out of the movies because they're not really Star Wars-esque.
And what they are, they're dealing with what they're trying to do. They're dealing with the
current
culture now, and they're putting it in there. And I don't know. She was a good character, like the droid. I liked her.
Yeah, it's played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and she actually said she didn't know what a droid was, and she didn't bother researching it. She just wanted to play it as a human.
Well, and I will give her that, because that droid did not seem like a droid. Like, you can tell with 3PO, it's a fucking droid, and he's got the mannerisms and even the speech, but it's just someone talking. And
even Alec Tudyk in Rogue One, like, he droided it up, but he had like a good personality.
Well, with K2, that was a good droid. This one here, I don't know. And you know what's funny though? She wasn't really in the movie for all that long. She was only in the movie for the part where they found Lando and they went to Kessel, and then she was pretty much killed. Right? But the other connection though is funny, because in Empire Strikes Back, C-3PO says, I don't know where your ship learned to communicate, but it has the most peculiar dialect. So now we know where that comes from. It's this droid that's in the computer of the Millennium Falcon, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting.
This was the first movie where Jonas played Chewie the whole time.
What do you mean?
Like, other times they would have Peter Mayhew like.
Oh, right.
While,
yeah.
No,
you can't really tell the difference with the walking carpet, right?
We couldn't have done this maybe like one at a time.
Paul Bettany playing Dryden Voss. They originally actually had somebody else in there playing this character, and then they had to do the reshoots, so he couldn't make it back. So they brought Paul Bettany in.
I think he did pretty good. I
like his character.
Yeah.
He's like friendly but creepy and like homicidal.
Yeah, he's like, you know, it was so bad that you had to do that to me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I really am. I'm gonna have to kill you now.
No, I'm just gonna have to.
You know what? It's just
I don't want to. I'm gonna feel terrible about it tomorrow.
I'm wondering if he has like a species, because if he was an alien, because he had that really the veins in his face. Or is that just a weird?
I think that was somebody who clawed his face.
Oh, okay. Because every time he started getting angry, it became more red. So I don't know. I liked his weapon though. It's kind of like a saber dagger type thing. That was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it was nice. He's definitely trained. He was trained by Maul, just like Kira.
So here's what I need you to do for me. I need you to give me a reason not to kill you all.
I didn't like his ship either. I thought that ship was kind of a weird thing.
It's kind of strange yacht.
It was a strange yacht, and the fact that they were doing the heist on the planet, and then next thing you know,
look like a bomber almost.
And you know what it looked like? In lore, it looked like the Sun Crusher.
I thought the Sun Crusher's more triangular.
Well, this looked very triangular. It was like a pike pole.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what it kind of reminded me of. But I didn't like the fact that they're doing the heist on that planet, and next thing you know, let's just walk over here around this ridge, and then there's Dryden's fucking ship.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Like, we don't want to be associated with you, doing this, but we'll be right there.
Yeah.
Like, Dryden, we just got robbed and noticed your ship was on our planet.
So if you wanted Crimson Dawn having no things in, nothing could be traced back to them, he did a shitty job of where he parked his yacht.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed Paul Bettany's performance in that. Like,
yeah, he did pretty good, and I think that even at the end there, like,
I love it when it's just like, Han, let's reevaluate our friendship and work together. Aaron Kelly Mann playing Enfys Nest.
So that was a little bit of a shocker, right?
I don't know if that was like the reshoots that really bothered me or what, but like, so Enfys Nest is there and she's attacking and she's killing, her crew is killing Woody Harrelson's crew, and then like later it's just like, we're not enemies. You literally killed his pilot who's a friendly guy.
Well, and that's the thing, I guess, when you're dealing with open rebellion, you have no allies, you have to do what you have to do. The fact that, like, she almost looked like a Mandalorian chieftain, like the mask and everything like that. So I don't know if that was, I don't know much about Enfys Nest, but other than the fact that they are a rebel cell, which I guess eventually they coordinate into the overall rebel alliance.
Well, yeah, she took the mask from her mother, and
is that what she did?
It was handed down to her. But like, I thought costume wise, really cool. I was just like, oh, this is gonna be a cool villain for Han to fight, and he never really fights him. And then like,
you're fighting some kid.
Yeah, and like they don't help him out with Dryden at all, really.
No,
like,
they don't. No, it's like, and they could have, right?
Yeah, they took out a couple soldiers, and it's just like there wasn't a big epic battle like that.
No.
So I'm asking, where does that 275 million come in? Because like,
that's a good point. There was no like huge battle.
Rogue One did not cost 275 million,
and they had the most epic battle ever.
They had the best space battle.
That's a good point. Because they really that nest they did really and what I didn't understand is that they actually let him take the coaxium to Dryden.
Yeah.
Like instead of actually having it fake, like that's a ballsy fucking move.
Well, they're trusting him and they're all this, but like I didn't trust her. I just here's a little vial. Like, this guy stole all this for you, and you're getting it, and you're giving him a little vial. So I wasn't a big fan of Enfys Nest. Like,
well, I think what they could have done, they could have been better. Yeah. I mean, they were cool at first because they called them Marauders, right? When Beckett said, "Oh, there's Marauders here," and
you know who I was a fan of?
Who's that?
Warwick Davis. Yeah, showing up as part of the crew.
Yeah,
I was just like, that is so awesome.
He only gets work through Star Wars movies, right? And he actually had a line this one, I think, too.
He had a few lines.
Yeah.
That's nice.
That's it. It's all loaded.
Do you know what that really is?
Yeah. About 60 million credits worth of refined coaxium.
And he
like,
looks the exact same as he did years ago.
a little bit older, but like,
Yeah.
man, like you ever watch him at those big Star Wars conventions? He hosts them, and he's just amazing. He's hilarious.
Is. He's one of the best ones when it comes to that. Same with Anthony Daniels. They're really the mainstays when it comes to Star Wars fan presentations and stuff like that. So
I hear he's pushing for a Willow 2, and I am fully aboard.
Willow 2, the search for more money.
Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah. Well, you know, he, like I said, he doesn't do much. I mean, he was Wald in episode 1. He was, I don't remember him in episode 2.
But he was in it, guaranteed.
Oh, you guarantee. He probably played something like, I don't know, a cloner or something
He's
like
just
that.
like a child when he started in like Return of the Jedi.
He was. He
so
played
much so
Beckett,
that
yeah.
Carrie Fisher like made sure to take care of him and stuff, like watched out for him on set.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lady Proxima, what did you think of Worm Lady?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different characters in the Star Wars galaxy we haven't seen yet. There are hut-like creatures and other creatures that are these big, gigantic creatures, right? She was sensitive to light, obviously, and she had to live underwater.
Did she have a window in her room?
Well, I don't know. It was blacked out, right?
Yeah.
Kira, remember the silo? We pulled you out of that horror, gave you a home. Don't throw it away for Han. He's not worth it.
Whatever he lost on the deal, we'll earn it back double.
Let's talk about the best part of this movie, though. Ray Park.
Says you.
Hello, Darth Maul. Also being voiced by Sam Witwer, which was pretty cool. But like, how does this movie just became like it's that much better when I saw Darth Maul on screen?
Well, I think it was a shocker for a lot of people. As a casual Star Wars movie goer, you have absolutely no clue why the fuck Darth Maul's back.
Yeah.
Seriously. Like, I mean, I know you know because he's been brought back in the Clone Wars and Rebels and stuff like that. But for the general movie-going population and that don't know anything in between the Star Wars movies, no books, no cartoons, no nothing, they're like, what the hell? He was severed in half by Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Battle of Naboo, sent down the reactor pit. So why is he back? So
I've played video games, Dark Forces, Jedi Knight 2. I believe his name was Ma. He got cut in half, and then he floated around. Well, they didn't go unrealistic. He didn't float. He just got himself some metal legs.
Well, and that's fine. And you and I know that, and that's fine. But I mean, a lot of people don't understand that and why he's back. You know, and it's funny because they're bringing him back. I think what that does, though, it kind of cements this into the Star Wars mythos more. Other than the fact that there's Solo and Calrissian, now you got Darth Maul in here, who is a connection from the past and the future. We know that Darth Maul's an ex-Sith Lord. We know that we know that he's part of the Crimson Dawn organization. He went back to Dathomir. He had his brother there during the Clone Wars and everything like that. He's part of the he's in Rebels. He ends up getting killed by
Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan finally, right?
Yeah, he finds Obi-Wan for some revenge and goes to Tatooine and he loses. And Obi-Wan actually like holds him and just like he feels bad. He feels bad for Darth Maul because like his whole life has just been revenge. And Darth Maul's just like, you had to be the one to do it. It's kind of like when Lindsay in Angel was just like killed by Lauren. He's like, no, Angel's supposed to kill me, not you, not some flunky.
Well, anyway, so yeah, it was cool. But for me personally, I never like really liked the fact that they brought Darth Maul back even in the Clone Wars and the Rebels because of the fact that they only brought him back because he's a cool character.
Well, they should have never killed him off. How awesome would Revenge of the Sith be if Darth Maul was also in there?
Jedi, I have been waiting for you.
One thing I didn't like, before I go into my other thing, is the fact that they said Corellia was just kind of a dump in this industrial world, which in reality, Corellia was one of the
Corellia was like a Coruscant before the war.
Yeah, Corellia was one of the founders of the Republic, and the Corellian people were highly regarded and very, very.
Corellian cruisers were expensive ships.
Well, actually, that was cool. You saw the shipyards up, the Corellian corvettes and all that stuff. That was cool. But I was going to say the recruitment center in on Corellia, that was interesting because they were playing the Imperial March in the recruitment video.
Yeah, there are about 4 credits to John Williams on that.
Oh my god. Yeah, that was interesting. And but I really think they could have, Corellia could have been a lot better. Maybe that's what happened to Corellia when the Empire took over. But you know, Coronet City is a beautiful city, right? What I thought they should do though, because there is a security force called Corsac, Corellian Security, and they really should have played that up a little bit more, other than that just the cops are following, because Corellian Security is like the I don't know, like the FBI of the galaxy almost for the Corellian sector. And then, you know, the other thing they didn't say anything about was the Corellian sector itself. I mean, there's 5 different planets there too, right? So that would have been interesting, in seeing the Dralls or the Solonians or something like that, because there's actually 3 different sentient species that come from the Corellian sector. So
what I thought was weird was this little small criminal organization by Lady Proxima was pretty much allowed to have free reign, because the stormtroopers were letting them go around and just grab people and stuff.
Well, but that's the thing though, like, because the Empire doesn't care about that stuff as long as it doesn't affect their assets, right? So, you know, and a lot of these planets became kind of more lawless like that because the Empire took a blind eye. As long as it didn't affect the Imperial war machine, fuck whatever, right? But it is kind of funny that it was so lawless on a core world, because again, Corellia is one of the main core worlds, like Alderaan, Coruscant, Chandrila, anything like that, right? So I found that was kind of interesting how they were portraying Corellia, but you know, whatever. I mean, I guess Disney's going to have their own takes on everything, right? So
watered down takes.
Well, and that's the thing about Disney. What they're doing is they're taking their own impressions and they're borrowing from here and there from the expanding universe and stuff like that, and creating their own stories. But you know, honestly, I think that if they would actually follow the original stories, I think a lot more fans would be into this. So, my opinion.
I hope you're still paying attention, because now I'm going to tell you the most important.
Yeah, overall, I think it was a good movie. I mean, I liked it. I bought the Blu-ray. There's a lot to the movie if you actually, because the second time I watched it, I was like, oh, I didn't see that before. So there was a lot of good parts to it. I don't think that creature in the maw, that was kind of, a giant octopus in the maw.
I was fine with the creature.
Well, I mean,
I'd say there's probably maybe 13% of little things that are just enough to bother you about the movie.
13%, that's an ominous number.
Well, I'm just trying to be exact here. That 13.5 kind of just bother you about the movie, but that's not big enough percentage for me to not enjoy the movie.
No, exactly. There's a couple things, it was a couple things about Rogue One I didn't like either, but I thought it was a very well done movie and I really liked it.
Yeah, why did they delete that love scene between Jin and Cassian?
Yeah, man, I want to see some hardcore action there. But I mean, overall, this movie was a fairly well-rounded movie. It showed kind of the gritty underside of Star Wars, which we've never seen before, only in dribs and drabs, like in episode 2 and episode 6 with Jabba and everything like that, right? But honestly, this one was really, the entire movie was about a criminal syndicate and the rogue side of the galaxy, really. And it did touch on rebellion, touched on the Empire, but really this was about the fringe characters and the fringe organizations that surround the citizens of the galaxy. So that was interesting, I thought, because there's never been a movie just like that. So, and I think that's another reason why it may not have done so well, because it's always about rebellion against the Empire or Jedi versus Sith. This is the first movie where that storyline completely out of there, really. I mean, even Rogue One was about the rebellion stealing the Death Star plans.
Well, yeah, when you think of Star Wars movies, you think of event movies, this is Star Wars, it's gonna be epic, let's line up, let's get our tickets early, and all this. But this movie was very underwhelming in that, where it was just this small little story, and it's just even Rogue One was epic.
Yeah, it was pretty big, especially toward the end.
And that's why I think people were sour on it, because I don't think Last Jedi was as epic. I think Last Jedi was a small, shortly told story in a small area.
Yeah, it is anticlimactical for sure.
Yeah.
But this one here, I guess, in Solo, it was kind of anticlimactical too. But they weren't going for that big, grandiose. Like you commented earlier about, there was no space battle, right? Well, there wasn't. The main battle was when they were on that hover train, to be honest with you. And after that, it wasn't really too. Oh, and there was the droid rebellion on Kessel.
I'm just saying, I'm a pilot. I'm gonna be the greatest pilot, but you're not gonna see it.
Yeah, well, that's too bad. But
I did enjoy the flying through the maw though, and how he's dealing with the TIE fighters.
Yeah, that was good. And actually, you noticed that the music that was playing was the one from the asteroid field in Empire Strikes Back, so that was cool. Who did the music score in this one anyway?
They had a different guy doing the music, but Williams did pop in for like 4 of the songs.
Okay, yeah, because they did the same thing with Rogue One too.
Yeah,
but he did Last Jedi.
Well, he's getting up there in age, so I mean they're starting to bring in other composers that can kind of mimic the feel and sound.
You need the London Symphony Orchestra, and you're fine.
Yeah.
So, anyways, overall it was good. I liked it, and I look forward to any more standalone Star Wars movies because, you know, let's not sour just because this one didn't do well.
Yeah, right? You should not be slowing this down. You should be, just going back. As I always say, go back to your script. Like, just go over it, make sure it's perfect, because there are definitely some things you could have fixed in this one that would have offended people. That's like the Solo name.
Yeah.
And let's stop calling it the Star Wars story. That's just silly. I would prefer anthology.
Yeah, anthology is a better name. A Star Wars story, like the Star Wars anthology, makes more sense.
So when this ended, I don't think they were completely thinking standalone because of how it ended. Do you think, like, down the road there might be more? Because there is some story to tell between, like, Kira, Maul, more of what Solo's going on with.
Well, I think that...
As they didn't get Lando and be like, oh, we're so happy with Lando, to have him in one movie. He signed to more, most likely.
Well, the thing is, though, like, Maul's story has already been answered in the cartoons.
We know his ending.
But his story is, like, we already know what happens to him. And then
I could still watch Maul run around and kill people and be entertained.
Of course you could. But we know what happens to Solo. Like, I'm not too sure exactly when the placement is. This happens pre-Rebels, and Rebels happens about 3 to 0 years before the Battle of Yavin, right? So you really can't have anything between, like, after that. So you'd have to do it pretty quick. I think, honestly, that might answer the questions between Kira and Han in a book somewhere along the line. I doubt they're going to make another movie. I really don't. I think that's what's going to happen.
No, that's a good idea. I wouldn't mind seeing a book about that.
Yeah, I think that's what happened.
I think they'll hold off on that for the longest time because of hope for a movie.
I'm sure it's being written right now.
More money involved that way.
Yeah, there is. So.
Well, as the Corellians say, if your ship ain't built from us, it's built for shit.
And I'm talking about the big Corellian ships now, not your local bulk cruisers.
Yeah.
Peace out.